Hey everyone, welcome to another video. Today we're going to talk about issue number 4 of Marvel's BloodHunt event, written by Jed MacKay with art created by Pepe Larraz. But before we dive into the story, I want to ask you a favor. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and a comment to help the channel grow. Now this issue opens with the Temple of the First Blasphemy landing right in the middle of New York. Now for those who don't know the importance of this temple was the home of the demon that created all the vampires during ancient time, who was eventually defeated by Khonshu, Bast, and the rest of the African pantheon of gods long ago. And if you want to know more about the story behind it, then check out Black Panther BloodHunt tie-ins that was covered on this channel. But anyway, getting back to the story, we jump over to Latveria, with Clea and Stephen Strange meeting with Dr. Doom in an attempt to request his aid. Because up to this point in the event, Dr. Doom has the only nation in the world that has built measures and defenses against the vampire hordes. In fact, it was so good that even Wakanda had to admit that Latveria was the safest place in the world at this present moment. So as Strange, Clea, and Doom talk things out, we hop back over to the Temple of the First Blasphemy with Blade and his Blood Coven arriving with their 2 Avenger hostages in hand. And as we all assumed on this panel, Blade reveals his true identity as Varney, the first vampire, after he expressed how long it's been since he walked those stone floors. And then he went on to tell T'Challa that he is planning on getting much stronger still, for this has always been the plan. This has always been the work. Thousands upon thousands of years ago, what begun with a crime against the universe will see its completion, here and now. For he was born for the second time in a stone sarcophagus, drowned in blood. So with that statement, T'Challa was tired of the games and asked exactly what is he, in which the entity before him stated, he is the first of all vampires, and his nomad spirit clothed in this fated vessel, for he is Varney. Now with that out there, at the same time back in Latveria, Strange and Clea learn about the same revelation. For Doom goes on to say, it is pretty obvious if they really think about it. Because some years ago, his minion, Marie Laveau, prepared Blade as the host for Varney's spirit. Because apparently, the Daywalker's unique constitution made him the ideal vessel. But unfortunately that attempt failed, but it would appear the second attempt did not. So with that out there, Strange brings up how his borders are free of vampires, to which Doom replied by saying he took precautions to protect his people. The exact precautions that Strange needed, because if they wanted any hope of beating the vampires, they needed the sun to be out and the dark force energy to be gone. So with Stephen's request out there, Doom replied by saying it was only a matter of time after all, because people have trifled with the dark force dimension for far too long, and far too lightly for something like this to be even remotely a surprise. So with that said, Clea jumped right to the point and asks what exactly does he need in order to do what he did on a global scale, to which he responds by saying to begin with a great gathering of mages, and a grand array of magical creatures brought together as one. Now this was something Strange could bring to Victor, but in classic Doom fashion, he didn't need it, because he had already taken the liberty of recruiting the student body of the Strange Academy. Now on a side note, there is a Strange Academy tie-in that explains what led to this point, and just like before, I am currently covering that too on this channel. So feel free to check it out. So anyway, with the students currently in Doom's hands, Dr. Doom tells Stephen to hand it over so he could begin. Now at first Stephen didn't quite follow what he meant, to which Doom clarified himself and said, this is an extraordinary work of magic they are speaking of casting, and to enact it, he must become the Sorcerer Supreme. So with that bombshell out there, we then transition over to Asgard with Tigra, Hunter's Moon, and a mysterious figure sneaking through the hallways unseen. Now this mystery man asks, don't the hero types usually ask nicely when they want something? To which Tigra responded by saying yes, but according to the Avengers, Thor is currently down. And they can't afford to ask nicely, because there is a chance the Asgardians may say no. And they don't have time to convince them. Now with that explained, Hunter's Moon, Tigra, and the mystery man made it to their goal, only to see no guards watching over it. So as the three stood before a massive vault, Hunter's Moon states that all priests are eventually called by their gods, and he is no different. So with that said, Hunter's Moon said hi to his father, to Khonshu. Now for those who don't know, Khonshu was imprisoned in Asgard ever since he tried to take over the world back in the Avengers 2018 storyline. But anyway, Khonshu goes on to say it was kind for him to visit, but unfortunately, it was also foolish to come. Because he has no power to lend him to opening his cell. And to the best of his knowledge, Hunter's Moon has no key for the locks, and to this Khonshu is correct. Hunter's Moon has no power to open this door, and nor does he have a key. But he brought someone much better. He brought Wrecker. Now Wrecker have the best tool needed for the job, for he has an Asgardian crowbar for an Asgardian prison door. So as Wrecker gets straight to work, we jump back over to the Temple of the First Blasphemy. And when we get there, Varney was telling T'Challa that he was there in Old Atlantis, and while he was there, he was transcribing the Darkhold and putting its bleak words to paper for the very first time. And it was there that he took his first steps towards becoming what he wanted to be. And now with the living Darkhold, the blood of a god, and his place of power in his possession, he is now ready to complete his ritual. Because to create the concept of the vampire is only the first step in his ritual, so in a way vampires are like the pupil form of his end goal. Now after he drank from Thor's blood, Varney then went on to say he was destined for something more. He was destined to be the end of all things. So with that goal in hand, the temple started to glow, as Varney started to call upon the Dark Force dimension energy. Because he started to become one with an entire dimension of darkness. So he stated, he is becoming the dark that consumes light, the cold that consumes warmth. He is becoming the vampire that consumes entire planets, better yet entire stars. He is becoming the unliving darkness. So just as the power started to flow through him, T'Challa points out a gigantic sphere of white light in the sky, a sphere of light that shouldn't be there. So as everyone looked on in confusion, on the next page all over the world, people watched in the darkness as the light emerged. Because that is what he is, that is what he had always been. And in the darkness, no matter where they find themselves in the world, those who travel by night could always see the face of Khonshu and know they are not alone. Because out of these beacons of light, Khonshu's dead fists stirred from their sleep and leaped to battle across the world, with hands that were filled with the silver of the moon's armored. For these are warriors with no fear, no blood, and no mercy. And on top of all that, they are led by Khonshu's resurrected son, Mark Spector, the Moon Knight. So with that said, the real Moon Knight is back and ready to do his thing. So as the vampire stood in fear, on the next page, we see Varney looking on as T'Challa moves into position behind him, and after removing a spike from Thor, the Black Panther went in for the attack. But Varney was too fast for him, for the darkness saved him right on time. So with the assassination attempt failing, Varney asks how is this possible considering they share the same blood? To which T'Challa responds by asking if Varney really thought Wakanda never fought vampires before. Because despite his situation, his goddess Bast has never abandoned him, and bit by bit the heart-shaped herb has been healing his vampire infection. Now according to Varney, T'Challa's freedom and attack were far too little, and wildly too late. Now T'Challa's attack was just the opening move to cover up his actions, because that blade had to be removed so the god of thunder could wake up and join the fight. So as Thor woke up and regained his composure, lightning and electricity started to flow around him as a familiar voice sounded from the sky. For the Avengers were on the scene and ready to go head-to-head with the Blood Coven and Varney, the first vampire himself, the unliving darkness. And with that said, issue number 4 of the BloodHunt event comes to an end. Now with that out there, if you want to stay in the loop about any individual storyline, then how about you hop over to the playlist section down below or in the link cards above to get all caught up on everything on my channel. So with that established, I hope you enjoyed this video, and please don't forget to leave a like and a comment if you want to see more videos like this. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next review.